Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Live. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. If you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. Also, if you don't have time to watch us on YouTube, remember you can catch us on the audio side as well. So, wherever you find your shows, your podcasts, you can find us there. Leave a rate and review, give us a 5-star because that's going to help the channel grow. If you've already done that, thank you so much for being a friend of the show. We do appreciate you. And we've been talking about doing this pound for pound list for a little minute now because the last time we did it, it was a while. Oh, Brewski in the house, who is an OG, he's just left a
Yes.
comment. Shout out to the Mandatory in the chat for the first time in a minute, but y'all always held it down with the previews and some of the best boxing conversation on YouTube. Hype for Bam and Cafu in July. Dude, that's
We
going to be a really good
appreciate that.
fight. Yeah,
Um,
thank you so much, Brewski, because I know you're an OG that used to leave comments like a day one friend of the show. So we do appreciate you joining us today. And we're glad because we don't do many weekly night shows, but if it's something we can do possibly during the summer when it's not NBA season, you might be able to do it.
yeah. If you don't know, I've been doing quite a lot of work around the NBA. Chantel's going to be doing more around the WNBA and also something else that we can't say yet. But we're doing what we can. We appreciate all the support. We've been talking about, as she said, pound for pound for a minute. We haven't done this in a while. I thought we did it last year. Apparently, we didn't.
I was
um,
looking for it and I was like scrolling down the content and I don't even remember who was on my list. You probably went back and looked at your list.
I try to do an update like at the end of each year. Um, and boy, there are some changes. Is what I'm gonna say. And for us, I think we could do it doesn't have to be an annual thing. We just kind of, I mean, to peel back the curtain here for people watching, we just picked out a time in the schedule where it was like, oh, it's kind of dead right now. As you guys know, there hasn't since the swath of fights we got early in May. It's been a lot calmer since. There have been some pretty good performances, obviously, since then. Erickson Lubin, who I shouted out last week, for one of them. Josh Taylor returns this weekend in an interesting fight. But at the same time, we have a gap and we have time to talk about pound for pound. And for people who may not know, criteria is just like, whatever our pound for pound criteria is. Chantel, you can get into that, but I will let people know that we're just doing a top 10. We will shout out honorable mentions at the end because obviously, if you do it at the beginning, it will spoil some things. So,
Probably want to unmute my mic there. I will say that this is an interactive show, guys. So we also want to hear who is on your pound for pound list. So
yes.
drop it in the comments because we want to know your pound for pound list too, so we can go over it. But what we're going to do is because I do have a feeling that Bryan and I have the same top three. Now, it might not be in the same order, but I say, Bryan, we go down from 1 to 10 because I think when you get between 6 and 10, there's some controversy.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? I think that's fair because if you know boxing, even on a casual level, you probably know who the top 3 pound for pound fighters are. And this is a men's list. We will do a women's pound for pound as well. Um,
That's true. I feel like we should probably also do one together because the UFC does that where they have women and men on the list, which I've always really
do they
liked.
do it anymore?
I
Let me
don't think
see.
so. Their fans might have different views at this point, but I will say that
Fair shot.
political views. I'm just saying, I did like how the UFC did that, but I think a women's list
They
would
separated
be.
them. Yeah, they don't do them anymore.
Yeah, I liked it when they did it together. Nonetheless, we will have a women's list, pound for pound list
Fans
coming out
of the
as well.
show, hold on. Fans of the show are gonna live and die with Tyrese Halliburton's 3-point percentage over the next week or so. Oh man, Tyrese Halliburton is gonna. I'm gonna watch every possession of that because the live shows that we do during those games. But luckily, they don't interfere with any big fights. Now, if the Knicks get to the finals, we might have a different conversation. But even then, they don't play on a lot of or any Saturdays. It doesn't appear so.
Yeah, it's crazy though because the WNBA plays a lot on like Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
So, I might be missing. I like it. It breaks my heart, but I'm also super excited to be on the sideline for the Storm. So
You get to watch the development of Dominique Malonga,
on
who
Sunday
plays
though,
tonight.
because it's going to be the Knicks game. I know this isn't a basketball show, guys, but if you watch the show,
We're
we're
buying time for more people to get in to see the
exactly.
rankings.
The game ends at 5, and then the next game starts. So by Climate Pledge, there's like a dope sports bar. So I'm gonna head over to the bar and watch the next game. So I'll make it just in time. And yeah, anyways, nonetheless, you guys, makeshift
I don't know if I'm ready to see
23.
Brian's heart get broken. Why is that?
Why would Brian's heart get broken?
Does Makeshift think I'm a Nick fan
I
also?
think he does. I think he
Probably.
thinks you're a Nick fan.
In an upset, Shantelle is actually the Nick fan here.
Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought?
But
I'm probably
she saw the Knicks be good in her childhood. I did not. So I just covered the league. I like players. There's organizations that I respect, like the Knicks, like some others, but I don't really have a dog in the fight as it relates to Knicks Pacers. Although it is better for me from a business standpoint if the Knicks continue to win because I get to continue to do shows
you
at
guys.
the post.
Yeah, the last time the Knicks made it this far, I was like 10 years old. And that was like the team that I loved. It was during the lockout year. They went and played in the finals against the Spurs. They lost in 5 games, but that was a dope team. And I loved that Knicks team. Like that Knicks team, I got to really appreciate. Also, like the 94 run, but I was really young during that time. I just remember John Starks didn't hit a shot in the fourth quarter.
And
And I remember,
in 2000 was the last time they made it to the conference finals, and I was 6. So
yeah, that's Brian and I's age gap, actually. You might think he's older because, I just look a lot younger.
weird.
No, I'm just joking. Okay, I think we wasted enough time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we got enough people in the chat. Thank you guys so much for waiting and hearing us banter like
We'll
that.
inevitably have more as once we get to like number 5 or whatever. So
Yes, makeshift 23. Since the Allen Houston team, Allen Houston's one of my favorite Knicks of all time. Makeshift,
one
by
of
the
my
way,
favorite
OG.
players of all time,
Yeah.
period. Honestly.
You guys, by the way, thank you for joining us again on this Monday night. We appreciate you. And drop your pound for pound list because we're about to get it started. Brian, you're number 1.
Thank God we're starting at the top. Because the bottom is where it gets tougher, and as we're talking about it, I might have a game time decision at the very, very end of this.
I'm changing up some stuff, you guys, because I changed it 4 times, 6 through 10. So I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, top 5 was very easy for me, so I'm glad we're starting at the top. Number 1 for me, by a very slim margin, by the way, is Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk is my number 1 pound for pound boxer right now. We're starting at the top. For people who will reiterate this throughout, but we're starting at 1 because the actual tough decisions are 6 through 10, not really 1 through 5. 1 through 5 should be pretty obvious. 1 through 3 at the very least. But Usyk is number 1 for obvious reasons. He's been active enough. He beat Tyson Fury twice. And before that, leading up to it, like what you do leading up to it matters. It's just not merely a what have you done for me lately thing, although that's part of it too. But the body of work does matter. It's both things put together. And Usyk just beats everybody. Like he beat Joshua twice. Obviously, he had the fight with Daniel Dubois where he won. They're going to have a rematch. So this may require some updating if we have a shocking outcome there. But Usyk is number 1 to me because he beat the lineal champion, the best who I thought was the best heavyweight in the world leading up to that fight. And only one dude was on his level leading up to that fight. And I thought it was Usyk. And Usyk outboxed him twice, once more convincingly. And I think that one's pretty, with respect to the 2 others, one other in particular, I think that one's pretty easy.
My number 1 is Usyk as well because he beat Tyson Fury 2 times. Not only did he do that, let's keep it serious. Let's keep it real here. Like he annihilated Anthony Joshua. He did. He bodied him.
Yeah.
And even when Anthony Joshua thought he had a better fight, nope, bodied him. And he cleaned out the cruiserweight division, came up. Everyone's like, he's too small. He's too small. No, he's pound for pound number 1, Alexander Usyk. I don't think I need to say anything else. I'm going to go with number 2 since you did number 1. My
Snake
number
draft
2.
Style.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait for another fantasy draft. Inoue. Naoya Inoue is my number 2. Now, you're probably wondering, why didn't I fit Bud there? Naoya Inoue is more active than Bud Crawford. And that's kind of the main reason why I have him at number 2. He's also cleaned out divisions. We've seen him not only be resilient this year, but he's active. He's one of the most active, best boxers in the world right now. Like Canelo was doing it at one point where he was fighting like 3-4 times a year, but Inoue is still doing that. He's coming off a huge bout against Cardenas, who I think you could put that fight in the top 5 of this year, where he was tested, got dropped by Lewis Neary, beat TJ Doheny. Like he's taken on guys in his division and he's beating everybody, and he's doing it in style. That's probably the most impressive thing about Naoya Inoue. So I have him as my number 2, which of course means Bud is number 3. Like, what about you, Bryan? Do you have Bud there, or do you have Inoue?
No, I have Inoue for the same reasons. See, we haven't gotten to like the crazy part yet, but as you mentioned, Inoue to me, who is the best in the lighter weight classes and has been for a couple years now, he has a strong pound for pound number 1 case because he's active enough, he's dominant enough. To me, Usyk beating Tyson Fury twice convincingly just kind of edged it out for me. Because remember, before that, I had Inoue higher, and I was like, listen, if Usyk takes care of Tyson Fury, who I thought was, I mean, not thought, he was absolutely a pound for pound top something before that. 4, 6, 8, wherever you had him, but he was on the list. And Usyk took care of him. So Inoue to me gets this spot. Strength of schedule matters, if you will. And we just saw Inoue in a real fight with Ramon Cardenas. We're going to see him fight Akhmadaliev. Akhmadaliev has a fight coming up, so hopefully he doesn't get played spoiler there, so we could actually see that. And we're expecting Inoue to fight potentially somebody else who will pop up on our lists, so we won't give that away yet. But there are some things coming forward. And look, this isn't a diss to anybody in particular, and you already said it, so we might as well continue. You and I both have Terence Crawford at number 3. I had him at number 1 after he beat Errol Spence, but he just isn't active enough. That's really what it comes down to. And also, I want to ask you this. How much does the Madrimov performance, which we both thought he won, but we both thought it was less than his best, how much do we think that factors into this too? Because it did for me a little bit.
It didn't factor in for me. I think activity for me was important. So when we're talking about how we're ranking our pound for pound list, I think how active you are is important. We haven't seen Bud fight 2 fights in a year for a minute. I can't even remember, probably before COVID.
2019.
Yeah.
Amir Khan and Mean Machine. I know because I was at both of those.
So for me, it's like Inoue is actually active, and it's not really necessarily Bud's fault because we know what was going on with Top Rank. He left. He had one fight on, what was it called? Like BLK Prime or something like that.
BLK, they're back. That's where Deontay Wilder's fighting next month.
Okay. Yes. So, it was gone for a minute, came back, but obviously there were some things going on with Top Rank. Bud ends up leaving. I don't blame all of that stuff on Bud for not being as active. However, in this pound for pound list, I can't take away what Inoue's done and how he's been undisputed in so many divisions. I mean, Bud has as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Bud is undisputed as well. So it's just the Madrimov performance to me didn't have an effect on it because I still thought he won 8 rounds to 4. And Madrimov is one of those like tricky fighters. And that was his first fight at 154 pounds. And although we were thinking, hey, he might get a knockout, like, that was his first fight at 154 pounds. He still won. It's not like it was a close fight against Madrimov. I had him winning 8 rounds to 4. So I'm not mad at that performance. And now we're going to see him against Canelo in September. And that's his one fight. Like, he's not going to have a tune-up fight, guys.
Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy part about it. Like, he should have a tune-up fight before he's jumping up. He's jumping up to 168.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. Like, this is absolute madness. Once it was a dream, a pipe dream, and we're actually getting it. And listen, we're going to get to Canelo on this list, right? But he's not on my next one. So number 4.
We think we're going to get to Canelo on this list.
We, you guys, by the way, drop your comments. I'm seeing them. Let's go to one comment because,
let's do that.
You know what I mean? By the way, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right.
Koki.
How do you
Koki.
Okay, well, Brian's going to say it because I sound like a gringo. I sound like an absolute gringo. Houston had a sexy jumper. Yes, he did. I used to like practice it all the time as a kid. He
Coquille
also
is
said,
it's a frog. It's a Puerto Rico staple. It's a it's a
okay,
thing.
okay, I'm gonna sound like a gringo. So like, don't. I'm just saying. All right, I have like, I just can't do it. Okay, guys. All right. He said Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, my top three, easy. We definitely agree with you. We
Yeah,
have the exact same top three,
yeah.
and he also says I got Bam up there too. That's someone we probably will be discussing. Not yet. Al the pal, good friend of the show, says what it do. Al, thanks for rocking with us. All right, so
You said, "Damn, not yet."
okay, not yet for me because number 4 for me is Dimitri Bivol.
Okay, we have the same number 4.
Okay, because he lost that first fight against Artur Beterbiev. But listen, guys, I actually had him winning that fight on the scorecards. Nonetheless, I was happy Beterbiev won. He's Canadian, you know, so I'm like, yeah, we won that. Anyways, the second fight happens. Dimitri Bivol avenges that loss, and to me, he is number 4 on this list. And I'll just say it right now: my number 5 is Artur Beterbiev because they
We
kind of
have
go
a
hand in
different
hand.
number 5. Our
Okay,
first
okay, got you.
difference.
Okay, great. I have Archer Beterbiev because he beat Dimitri Bivol first, and then he lost. And some people would also argue it was a very close fight. You could definitely say that. So for me, it's like I can't separate them too much because we are going to be getting a trilogy fight. Archer Beterbiev to me is in this top 5. There's no way that I could have left him out in this one. His only loss is to Dimitri Bivol. That's his only loss. So he's my number 5. Bryan, I don't know if you want to explain Dimitri Bivol being your number 4 or you want to just get to your number 5.
I thought Bivol beat Beterbiev twice. I thought both of them were kind of close, but the second one was a little more decisive. The first one, I I couldn't get to Beterbiev winning that fight, even though he got the decision. Like I was stunned when they read the cards. I was legitimately stunned. That said, Beterbiev will be on this list. He's just not my number 5. I think the world of both of them dudes. I'm glad they're going to run it back a third time. The sport needs it. I will let you know I will be backing Bivol again by decision because I think he's going to win that fight. But Bivol is just tremendous. It's the body of work too leading up to this point. It's beating Canelo Alvarez also. It's beating Zurdo Ramirez also. Like one-sided fights and beating Beterbiev decisively, I think was like he has a case. If you really want to get into it, like if you want to tell me Bivol should be in the top 3, I'll listen. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be crazy to put him and look, this is a conversation we'll have as it pertains to Crawford versus Canelo. Like obviously if Crawford beats Canelo, then yes, a lot of
Yeah.
people will be putting him at number 1 at that point.
100%. I think
But
if
but if he
yeah.
loses, Bivol's all of a sudden in the top 3, and if Bivol beats Beterbiev again, then we're having a different discussion by the end of the year.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in what you just said because I think if Terence Bud Crawford loses to Canelo, like that's not a bad L to have on your record,
Depending on
right? But
how.
he's not the same Canelo. That's the only thing.
That's yep, exactly.
So, which is why I think it's interesting when they're having this fight because remember, Canelo is what like 33, 34, something like that, and Bud's 38. Bud's older.
Canelo's going to be 35 soon.
Okay, so yeah,
He'll be
30.
35 by the time they fight.
So it's very interesting. Now, going back to Beterbiev, I just want to say this. You listed off some names. What was the one thing that they were saying about Bud Crawford before he fought Spence? He don't got the resume. He don't got the resume. But he was knocking everybody out. He was knocking everybody out. The only guy that Artur Beterbiev hasn't knocked out is Dimitri Bivol. But he did beat him the first time on the cards, whether I agree with that or not. Now, Vosdick, he took care of, right? We know what happened with Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown was like winning that fight. All of a sudden, Beterbiev's like, nobody makes me bleed my own blood. And then he goes off. Like, you know, that's literally what happened, right? And then Joe Smith Jr. was on a run, yo. Joe Smith Jr. was a champion.
You love Joe Smith Jr.
I love everything about
it.
Blue collar,
it's like you're a New Yorker, yo.
I really am. I feel like inside, like Long Island guy.
Mhm.
construction worker. Like, I love everything about Joe Smith
Heavy
Jr.
hands,
Yes.
and just one of these dudes, like, yes, he's not technically the most sound, but you just cannot sleep on him at any fight, and Better BF took care of him.
No, Anthony Yard, another
Mm.
guy, a tricky fighter, a
Fun
very good
fight
fighter.
also, like, high
Yeah,
key, very fun fight.
Better be able to take care of him as well. Callum Smith, yo, Callum Smith, he's a tough fighter. And who did he just beat recently?
Chris Eubank Jr.? Or you mean after that?
After that,
After that. Why am I blanking on this? It literally just happened.
Buatsi.
Yeah,
Buatsi was
Joshua
supposed to
Buatsi.
be that dude.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to hear about him. Let's not
That
talk
was an
about him on this
upset.
list. That was a
Legitimate upset. I don't
massive.
remember what the line was, but he was an upset. He was like a pretty, like fairly significant underdog. And Callum Smith, like that was honestly a surprising performance because
Very
after the
good.
Better BF fight, I was just kind of like, all right, I guess that's the end of Callum Smith. And it was like, no. And to be fair to Callum Smith, he actually, relative to fighting Better BF, like he did some good things in that fight. I thought he won 2 rounds before he ended up getting stopped.
The Smith family, they're very good at boxing, and Callum Smith has surprised us once again, taking care of Joshua Buatsi. But I'm just saying, like, Better BF has a resume as well, and he's knocking out dudes. The only guy he didn't knock out was Dimitri Bivol, but it shows how good Dimitri Bivol is. So for me, I still got Better BF there, and I'm gonna probably change that if we see a different decision for the third fight. And I'm gonna tell you now, Bryan, I think Better BF could win that third fight.
Sure.
I think he
I don't want to
has a
count him out
chance.
totally. Yeah.
And remember, like he got knee surgery and all of this stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like we don't know what Better BF we're gonna get, but also he'll be sneakily older. So let's also keep that in mind
Ain't
whenever we
that
do get
sneaky.
him.
I mean,
So
Bevo's not super young either, but he is younger than Better BF.
so we all know my number 5, and you explained Dimitri Bivol, but who's your number 5 on the list?
It's actually your boy,
Okay, I knew you might go here.
Bam Rodriguez.
Yes.
So for people just tuning in, just to reiterate, we are doing 1 through 10. But so far, this is Chantelle's pound for pound list through 5. We are halfway there. And obviously, we're going to leave room for honorable mentions. And, we want to hear you guys' pound for pound list. So drop them as we go. Shantelle has Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Better BF. And I have Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Bam Rodriguez.
That's a nasty top 5.
Bam Rodriguez. It's crazy because, like, in starting to do the process, I was like, am I going to have Bam in my top 5? But it's not that crazy when you look at, listen, he has a legitimate resume now at this point. The Juan Francisco Estrada win, I think, is really the one that catapulted him into a lot of people being like, oh, yes, he's like a unanimous pound for pound guy now. There were some people who had him on a little bit even before that, because the win over Sonny Edwards, I think, was another, not a breakout performance because he was already establishing himself as like one of these next stars. But Bam Rodriguez, the way he took it to Sonny Edwards and broke him down and made him have to retire on his stool. And then before that, just other signature performances. We've talked about the Carlos Cuadras fight up here before, like in the early mandatory days. Shor Rungvisai also, who's a big name that he took out early and even stopped him in 8 rounds, dropped him before that. And he's going to have a fight coming up. It's going to be a unification fight, WBC, WBO, Super Flyweight Championship. That's going to be super fun. Where July, there's a lot of fun fights in July. There's going to be July 19th against Fumalela Kafu, who has one of the weirdest records you'll ever see from a champion, where he's 11-0 with 3 draws. But a lot of people haven't seen him yet. He's an interesting fighter. He's got some pop. South African dude, southpaw. Bam Rodriguez has an interesting challenge there. He's going to have the home field advantage because this is going to be in Texas. So I'm curious to see how he'll unify, because I do think he'll win that fight. But that could be a pretty tough fight. We'll see how he navigates that. Brewski says the body shot knockout after the knockdown was ridiculous. We've talked about that. Alda Powell says, I got to be careful when Alda Powell comments sometimes. No, I'm kidding. Mexican America has been whooping the so-called quote-unquote real Mexicans, and Canelo know what's going to happen to him if he ever fought David. We might get to one or both of those guys as we progress here. Brewski says Bam should be getting more buzz as the upcoming face of boxing. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I agree on the first part. I think Shantelle would also. I don't think it's a hot take for boxing fans, like more than casual boxing fans. But if you're a casual boxing fan, I still don't know how aware they are of Bam Rodriguez, to be fair.
All right. Well, my number 6 is Bam Rodriguez. So thank you.
And my number 6 is Artur Beterbiev.
Okay, great. So we, you know what I mean? So it's kind of close. The reason why I couldn't put Bam over Artur Beterbiev was the reasons why I listed. But to me, he could potentially be a face of boxing, and the El Gallo defeat for me catapulted him all the way. Like I think on that post-fight show, I was like, yo, he could be top 5 because of what he's accomplishing. And he's gonna move up. And there's a guy that I'm going to mention, and I don't know if he's on your list. I don't know, but we could be seeing a future bout between him and Nakatani, which would be an absolute banger. But to me, Bam Rodriguez deserves to be in this top 10, and I'm not mad at you having him at number 5. I know you just smiled right now. What are you smiling about? Do you have Nakatani on your list? You might. I think you might. Because like I was making this list and I was like, yo, I might. You guys are going to have to stay tuned. Drop your top 5, like how Bryan and I did. And Bryan, your reason for Beterbiev being number 6, like, is it a little bit far off from what I said, or?
No, I mean all the same things. Like if he won his last fight, he would be ahead of Bam Rodriguez. He lost his last fight, and the fight before I thought he lost, though he won technically. So I try not to apply too much of my own sort of distinction there, or how I feel about the performance. Rather, I do think the performance itself matters, which is why the next few slots were tough to me, because I do think in pound for pound, like, look, I had Terence Crawford in 2023 ahead of Usyk and Inoue. He hasn't lost. Inoue hasn't lost. And Usyk hasn't lost. So why is it shuffled around? Performances, quality of opposition, decisive victories, which doesn't necessarily mean knockouts. It also means, like, how are your decisions looking? You know what I mean? Are you beating somebody wide on the cards? Or are you breaking them down as you go? Or are you just kind of like barely doing anything and edging it out, with apologies to, you know, certain dudes who prefer to win that way? But I think Artur Beterbiev, he has one of the best resumes. We broke it down earlier. All the guys that he's broken down. He's beaten everybody he's fought by knockout except Dimitri Bivol, who's the best guy he's ever fought. And Dimitri Bivol, Artur Beterbiev is the only guy that really made him struggle. Canelo Alvarez didn't. He handled Canelo Alvarez. Handled him. And
you guys know what's crazy is that there was talks one time that Canelo was going to beat Bivol and then beat Beterbiev. You remember that was the thing? Like people were like, "Oh, Canelo's going to do it." And so that's how good Dimitri Bivol is. But I also want to reiterate how good Artur Beterbiev is. So I'm not mad at our 5-6 switch. It was hard, you know, because I wanted to put Bam. As soon as Bam beat El Gallo, for me, I was like, yo, put him in the top 5. But now as we're making this list, things are going to get a little bit crazy. Let's get to Makeshift 23, because he put out his whole list. And if you're going to put out your list, we're going to read it. And we're going to give you, because, you know, you still got your, well, we're going to go from 7 to 10 now. Because, all right, so Makeshift 23, his list is Usyk, Inoue, Bud, Bivol, Beterbiev. So Makeshift and I have the same top 5. Then he goes Nakatani, Bam, Canelo, David Benavidez, who is on my list, and Teofimo Lopez. So I'm not mad at that. Jitterbug has an interesting comment here. This is crazy.
I think that's a good list by Makeshift. I think that's a really good list. Actually,
Bam will definitely be the face of sub 135 after Inoue leaves. I don't know if Bam will ever get to 130, but I think there's a chance he could get to 126. But like right now,
it's a while away.
Yeah, it's like, you know, he's really, really young. And I think it's really good for the city of San Antonio. Like, so many good boxers come out of Texas is crazy. Love the boxing culture down there. Bryan, should we get to your number 7? I think we have the same number 7.
I don't think we do.
Actually, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't.
I don't think we do.
Who's your number 7?
Junto Nakatani.
Oh, wow. So you did go Nakatani. Okay, this is going to be very
you mentioned
interesting.
him, and I was like, uh-oh.
That's, yeah. Okay, because I Go
Possibly
ahead.
my first controversial choice. Although he's higher on some pound for pound lists than people realize. Who like if you like really go into the weeds there, but Nakatani, you want to talk about dominance? This dude is destroying people, and he's destroyed like good fighters as well. So Vincent Astrolabio was somebody people were hype about. I thought he was getting a little overrated, and Nakatani obliterated him in one round. Um, he's also been very active. That's the other thing of this. Toward the end of last year, he beats Pesh CP Freshmart, who's 76-1 going into that fight. Because I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but over in Thailand, they get very active. These dudes fight a lot. And he took care of him in 6 rounds in Japan, beat David Cuellar in his last fight, 3rd round knockout. Also beat Alexandro Santiago, who had won a bantamweight title. I want to say before that, he had that crazy knockout against Andrew Maloney the last time we saw Nakatani in the United States. I remember that being a knockout of the year candidate. It was the knockout of the year for some people. The body of work is just building. Angelo Costa, who he knocked out a few years ago, is somebody that I was particularly high on. Not just some Puerto Rican bias there. He's actually good, but like Nakatani just destroys people, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's like you're destroying guys who are ranked. He has a unification coming up, and that's going to be a tough fight. But at bantamweight, like he's the guy. He's the guy right now. Everyone wants him to fight Inoue. I hope that that's on my 2026 wish list, because I don't think that's going to happen this year. If Inoue, obviously fights against Akhmadaliev in September, I'm probably not expecting a 4th Inoue fight this year. So, but you never know. But I think Nakatani is awesome. I think he should be a bigger star worldwide, but it's a niche sport, unfortunately. But in Japan, like people are absolutely coming out to see that dude, and I think we got to recognize like he might still be underrated right now.
He definitely is underrated, and I think y'all are about to hate my list. People are about to hate my list
Oh, I know where you're
when I go
going.
through my list. I listen. Number 7 for me is Canelo Alvarez. And the reason why I have Canelo Alvarez at number 7 is because he has over 60 professional fights, you guys. Not too long ago, we were talking about that he was pound for pound number 1. Do you like the fights that he's picking? No, but he's still winning. He's still dominating. And when he came back against John Ryder, let's keep in mind that he was coming off of a wrist surgery. It was in Mexico. It was kind of a letdown because everyone thought he was going to get the TKO or knockout. That's not the Canelo we're seeing in this part of his career. We see him against Jermell Charlo. Charlo didn't do anything in that fight. Not a damn thing against Canelo. Canelo beat him. Then he goes and fights a Jaime Munguia. And here's the thing. I think Jaime Munguia, when he fought him, he was on a rise, right? Because we saw Jaime Munguia in a pretty impressive bout. But here's the thing. Jaime Munguia was young and he has power, legit power during the time that he was fighting Canelo. And you're fighting a young guy from Mexico with power. Like, regardless of what you think about Jaime Munguia, it's still risky. Then you're fighting Bryan's fellow Puerto Rican and Edgar Berlanga. Berlanga wasn't ready for Canelo. That's what people were saying. I thought he should have did what he did in the last round a little bit earlier. Nonetheless, he still fought a young guy like Edgar Berlanga who has power. The William School fight I don't want to talk about, guys. But nonetheless,
We should probably talk about it.
he beats William Skull and William.
That's where I draw the line at dominance. But I mean,
But no, I mean, like, I don't
I
think
get
we
it.
can. I feel like Canelo has to be on this list. And when you talk about how we're talking about our pound for pound, there's obviously going to be a way that we're looking at this list. He's still a face of boxing. He does pay-per-view numbers. He is still one of the biggest boxers in the game. I can't take Canelo off the pound for pound. And he has more fights than a bunch of people combined on this list, you guys. Over 60 professional fights. And your losses are what? Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol? Like, those aren't two bad losses to have. So for me, Canelo's still on the list. He's not top 5. He slid on my list, but he gets the number 7 spot because he's still undefeated. He's still taking fights. He's still active. He's still arguably the biggest face in boxing still. Canelo still has to be the biggest name in boxing. For us to not have him on this list would be crazy. But if you didn't, hey, man, I'm not going to be mad at you. Okay? Because people are coming up. But I got Canelo Alvarez for my number 7.
Let's talk about Canelo Alvarez for a second.
Do you even have him on your list? You don't have him on your list, do you?
No, I do have him on my list, actually. I very much do have him on my list. I get the criticisms and stuff. Al the Pal's going in right now. Jesus, who usually checks in, he will after the fact.
Jesus is gonna kill me. I'm nervous when Jesus sees the chat. What's up to our good friend Jesus?
He loses to Bivol May of 2022. He's still on a lot of pound for pound lists even then. I think a lot of people chalk it up to body of work / going up to a different weight class / Bivol is really, really good. And that's when more people learned that. He beats Golovkin after. He didn't look awesome. That was in September of that year. That was 2022. John Ryder didn't look awesome, but he won all but 2 rounds. I thought he could have looked better, but it wasn't like, oh, he's absolutely falling off yet. Hadn't gotten to that point yet. He beats Jermell Charlo September of 2023. And in that fight, Charlo didn't really do anything. I compared it to Inoue versus Paul Butler, except Canelo didn't get the stoppage. Could he have? I don't know. But he got it. He got the win, rather. Jaime Munguia, May of 2024. Edgar Berlanga, September of 2024. 2 guys who Shantelle and I were saying should fight each other for the right to fight Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo Alvarez was like, you know what? Instead of fighting David Benavidez, I'm going to fight both of these dudes instead. And on top of that, I'm going to make a shit ton of money. It's going to be in Vegas. All while making money with PBC and taunting the Saudis until they give me such a big bag that I can't walk away from it. Or Jake Paul, for that matter. And then he flirted with both of them. Looked like he was going to fight Jake Paul. And then he took the money to take this 4-fight deal with the Saudis. He's already fulfilled the first of that, which leads us to Williams School, May of 2025. I think the Williams School fight is the fight where a lot of people, not a lot of people, I don't want to overstate it, but where more people than I've seen are like, oh, he might actually just be washed. And then if you're a Canelo fan, you're like, Williams School didn't want to fight. He ran the entire time. And I understand both sides of the coin. But I think the way Canelo is trending, clearly, because I think the performances themselves matter. Like, he's winning these fights, but the way he's performed, I do think that matters. He's on a 6-fight winning streak, all by decision, which is kind of wild to think about with Canelo Alvarez. Even though he's not, his knockout power gets a little overstated at times. He is a knockout puncher, but like even coming up, like he didn't have ever a crazy knockout ratio. A good one, yes, but not like a Deontay Wilder.
He's not
Inoue.
A devastating puncher. Like, that's the thing.
Anymore.
Like Canelo, but even then, like he wasn't like a knockout artist. I don't think he was a knockout artist. I think he would break you down. Right, round by round.
He had the Amir Khan, but that one I get it because like there was a weight class disparity, and also Amir Khan, like, let's be fair, has
his chin is made of glass.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, like, okay. To your point, I think young, not like recent young Canelo. Like, I think you can give me the case. Like, okay, he's a bit of a knockout artist, but also relative to the competition, like he was fighting at the time. That's the other thing, because he knocked out Carlos Baldomir. That was a big one. That was in 2010. You know what I mean?
A long time ago. And so this is why he's still on the list for me. And at number 7, because in 2010 he was doing this. And I think
Cito Lopez in 2012, and then you have like decision win over Austin Trout. He loses to Mayweather. He stops Angulo, but that was a breakdown type of stoppage. That was a fucking awesome fight too. If like you want to see like a classic Canelo fight, Look up his fight with Alfredo Angulo in 2014 after the Floyd Mayweather fight. A tough ass fight to take after losing to Floyd Mayweather that young, by the way. Like, shout out to him for doing that. Erislandy Lara, I thought he lost that fight. He wins by decision. That was in 2024 also. And then, like, this is where the knockout artistry, if you will, if he had it, ends. Because it's like James Kirkland, but like, also, let's be fair. No disrespect to James Kirkland. Amir Khan, Liam Smith. That was another pretty big one. I think that was a body shot too. Yeah, it was a body shot. And then he fights Golovkin. And then it's when it starts to take a little bit of a dip. Sergey Kovalev, I think, was the last like big one punch Canelo knockout. And that was in 2019.
But that wasn't even like the Kovalev of the past. You know what I mean? Like Kovalev wasn't Kovalev at that time. I think you could argue that. But I just never looked at Canelo Alvarez as like a knockout artist. Like when I think of knockout artists, I'm thinking about like, Mike Tyson. Like that's
even
a knockout
Golovkin,
artist.
honestly.
Yeah, Golovkin, yeah, for sure. And I've been on record saying that I thought the first fight was a draw, if anything.
Yeah, if you go to the Canelo resume, like we just kind of did, like it helps your case. He didn't knock out a smaller Miguel Cotto, like a lot smaller Miguel Cotto. You know what I mean? Floyd Mayweather almost did. And Manny Pacquiao actually did.
But you guys, like, let's keep it a buck here. What's the difference of what Canelo's doing than what Mayweather did at this point in his career? Listen, guys. Listen, there's not much of a difference. And Mayweather's one of my favorite boxers, like top 5 for me, because I also got to see Pretty Boy Floyd. What's the difference? What is the difference? We literally sit down here and still say that Mayweather, because Mayweather's got that but let's just remember, what did they say when Mayweather fought Pacquiao? It came 5 years too late, and then they said that he ran the whole time. You guys remember that? They were like, he was running. Then everyone said Mayweather cherry-picked. His last fight was Andre Berto, dude.
Before Conor McGregor, which is also like
his, you know what I mean? Like his last real fight was Andre Berto. Yeah. This is what I'm saying though. Like we know this is the latter end of Canelo's career, but what is the difference than what Mayweather was doing at the latter end of his career? He was picking those dudes too. So
let's look through it. Let's look through it actually before and then we'll get back to the list.
I'm really potting tonight. I'm legit potting tonight. Yeah.
Like when Floyd Mayweather was fighting like the top dudes, he did it. He did it.
Hell yeah.
But he was doing it as Pretty Boy Floyd for the most part. Because that was when you got like, and we'll go through it briefly. Diego Corrales, Jesus Chavez, obviously Jose Luis Castillo. They had a controversial first fight. They ran it back. DeMarcus Corley before like everyone just started beating him and he became a journeyman. Go look up his box rec. It's one of the funnier ones that you'll find. Zab Judah, when Zab Judah still had like whatever Zab Judah thing you want to call it. I'm not going to use the A word that's overused now on social media, but that.
Wait, hold up. Let's get to Al the Pal's comment because this is really important. He said he fought Maidana, which, by the way, I was at the second fight, and Pacquiao past 37. Canelo, like 33, and been fighting whack dudes. Here's the thing. Everyone's body's different. Canelo also became a pro a little bit earlier, fighting in Mexico. He has over 60 professional fights. So
20 years in.
It's a little bit different. So body-wise, he might be like 70 years old. Like, we don't know what's going on with Canelo's body. He's been fighting forever. So I just wanted to
finish this up real quick. And obviously Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton.
I think the Oscar De La Hoya one was like the passing of the torch in that division.
And then Ricky Hatton was like, you had Ricky Hatton fans, delusional or not, being like, yo, he's going to knock out Floyd Mayweather. And by the way, Ricky Hatton was undefeated. That was before Manny Pacquiao got one of his best one-punch knockouts. In that, and then he comes back out of retirement. Juan Manuel Marquez, who he's like noticeably bigger than. Shane Mosley, who at the time was still really good, and then you go to like, by the way, this version of Victor Ortiz, I wouldn't say it's a cherry pick. Miguel Cotto has never been a cherry pick in his goddamn life.
Yo, you guys, who was the one fighter that I've said this? Who was the one fighter that was the closest to beating Mayweather? To me, it was Cotto. Cotto was the closest. Go back and watch the tape.
I might say the first Maidana fight. But Cotto's in the top 2 or 3 because Castillo also has one in there. Guerrero, whatever.
You guys go watch that Cotto fight. I'm
Yeah.
telling you right now.
And
Like,
then
go
and then
rewatch it.
he gets Canelo early, and then the two Maidana fights, Pacquiao, Berto. So it's not as much cherry picking, quote unquote. Like, the Robert Guerrero one, you look at, you're like, you know what I mean? Victor Ortiz was young and exciting, but we had seen him stop at that point. But like, there's still a legitimate resume here. I think Canelo, like, while he's beating guys, I think it's probably a worse version of what Mayweather did toward the end, outside of Conor McGregor, because nothing stoops below that.
Dude, the Dodgers are losing 7-0. Like, what is going on right now?
All
Okay,
right.
anyways.
So if you're just tuning in, salute chat. XL says, by the way, here's what we have right now. You did 7,
Yeah,
and
that.
I've done 7.
Yes.
So this is
Wait, who the
Chantel's.
hell was your 7? Oh,
This is
wait. Yeah.
Chantel's 7
Oh, yeah.
right now. We have Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Beterbiev, Bam, Rodriguez, Canelo. I have Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Bam, Beterbiev, Nakatani. And since we're talking about him, I should reveal that Canelo Alvarez is my number 8.
Okay, so not too far off from 7. I think we spent enough time on Canelo. So why don't you give your number 8?
Canelo.
Oh, wait, no, you're number 9. You might as well do your number 9.
You didn't do your number 8. Who's your number 8?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that's true.
You're
Oh,
mad
I
scrambled,
was.
yo.
Well, I saw the score for the Dodgers game, and I'm like, what's going on here? All right, so this is really tough for me, guys. But my number 8 is David Benavidez.
Oh.
My number 8 is David Benavidez. And why are you laughing? Why was that funny to you?
Because we'll get to it.
Okay.
We'll continue.
So some people might not want to put David Benavidez on their list, but he just fought a very young David Morrell, who coming into that fight, some people would have thought that David Morrell would possibly win that fight. Wasn't able to do it. He fought Vosdick. He fought Demetrius Andrade, Caleb Plant. Like, the guy has names on his resume, and he wanted to fight Canelo Alvarez. Canelo would not fight him. Canelo was like, yeah, I'll do it for 200 mil. He moves up to 175 pounds, and he gets it done. And that performance against a very smart fighter like David Morrell, who has power, was so impressive because he broke him down. And that first fight against Vosdick, I think there was some conversation about whether the fact his power transcended. Did we see what David Benavidez did against David Morrell? Like, David Morrell, he's coming back. He's going to be fighting in the card in July on that Shakur Stevenson card, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So he's going to come back and he's going to have a good fight. Tough opponent, though, but he'll win that. To me, David Benavidez is on this list. And what he's doing right now is very, very impressive. And I think there was some talk that he was going to get the winner of Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev at one point. That was a conversation that was going on, was it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but Bivol and Beterbiev are like, nah, we're going to fight each other.
Which is the right move. And
Yeah.
This is how he winds up with the WBC title at light heavyweight, by the way. The full title, not just the interim title. So
listen, David Benavidez, he's not running from the smoke. He's the real deal. They don't call him the monster for nothing. He's my number 8, and I got him on this list.
when is his next fight?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
It's probably coming up.
We'll see him again, I'm sure, at some point before the end of the year. I do wonder, is it going to be on another PBC card, or because he's been flirting with homeboy over there, trying to get a big fight. So I do wonder, where's his next fight going to be? I think he wants. It's funny. Like, let me ask you this question before we continue. If Terence Crawford beats,
oh my God,
wait, let me get it out. If Terence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, do you think he would challenge David Benavidez?
No, I think he'd fight Canelo again and then make like even more money. Like, I wonder how much money they're gonna make on that, because like, do you remember when Pacquiao and Mayweather fought? They both got like 50 mil, or it was like something crazy.
I think Terence Crawford is nuts in the best way possible. Like, I think if he beats Canelo Alvarez, he might look at light heavyweight and be like, yo, you know what?
Hey, it's possible for sure. But To me,
I hope not. By the way, I think that's
it's not
pushing
gonna
it too
happen, bro.
far.
Bro, I think they're literally gonna have like a trilogy fight.
Canelo Crawford, yeah, why not? Then both of them retire. That could
Dude,
be like
that's what they're doing.
Canelo has 3 fights left on his deal. It could literally just be Crawford, Crawford, Crawford.
How do you make the most money? But like, we don't know how that fight's gonna go because like, if Crawford was to knock his ass out,
Unless if it's two, like if Crawford wins 2 or Canelo wins 2, they probably stop at 2. But yeah, I mean,
they're probably gonna do that. Like, if
it
we're
makes
just thinking about
sense.
conspiracy theories, like I could
Especially
see
if
that
the fight,
happening.
especially if the fight is good. Although I don't know.
I think it'll be a good fight. I
I don't know.
really am more serious. I'm more interested in seeing how Canelo is gonna look than Bud, because I don't know how Canelo's gonna look. So, anyways, yeah, my number 8, David Benavidez. So why don't you go to your number 9?
I have to do my number 8.
I thought you were okay. I'm
No,
lost.
I did Canelo Alvarez. My bad. My bad, y'all. My bad. My
Now
bad.
you're lost. So do your number 9.
My number 9. Now, this one, I'm going to be honest with you, came down to the wire. There's multiple guys I have knocked off the list because of recent performances, because of strength of schedule, that I have to also put David Benavidez in here at number 9. Originally, I was like, am I going to have David Benavidez on here? And then as I'm going through it, I'm like, I have to have David Benavidez on here. The David Morrell win was meaningful because David Morrell, one, he was also a champion of super middleweight, but he's a legit dude. Like, I think David Morrell is going to be one of these guys where like he got the loss early on in his pro career, although he's not like the absolute youngest, but he's in his prime years, 27-ish. He is going to be one of these dudes I think gets a title again at some point. We might even see them fight again down the road at light heavyweight. Who knows? But I think Morrell, like, he'll get a couple wins. He'll be right back into the title picture. He's too good. And I think he'll learn from that performance because I was expecting more. I didn't like his game plan at all. We've talked about it already extensively. I thought there were some things he could have done that he just straight up did not. I thought there was a pathway to him winning that fight, but he just wasn't ready for David Benavidez, and David Benavidez overwhelmed him. He beats Vostick, a performance that disappointed some, but at the end of the day, I thought he won like 8-9 rounds.
First fight at 175 pounds.
That too.
It's important.
Against a dude who prior to that had only lost to, we already talked about this, Artur Beterbiev, and was up on 2 scorecards at the time he got stopped, and Beterbiev just turned it up. You can get rounds off of Beterbiev. He'll just make you pay for it. Mm-hmm. Demetrius Andrade, I know people say Andrade, but my Latino brain just says Andrade because that's how you're supposed to pronounce that shit. But anyway, he wins that fight. I thought that was a very good performance because I thought Andrade is like, he's tricky, he's a southpaw, he's undefeated. He's never been promoted properly and he's never been super
fun
active.
Fight though. Fun fight. That was a good fight. I loved it.
And then he just broke him down. Caleb Plant, this was for David Benavidez the coming out party to casual boxing fans, where that felt like, remember, because we had just started the show around that time, that felt like a big fight. Like I was like, yo, is this gonna be like a bit like it was a big fight. There was a lot of people, like people there. People were watching it and everything like that. Yeah, I thought that was like coming off the David Lemieux performance, which was like 10 months before that. And David Lemieux, low key, all due respect to our Canadian homies, kind of washed at that point. But he beats Caleb Plant in an impressive way. I think David Benavidez has to be on the pound for pound list right now. So I have him in at number 9.
All right, now things are about to get crazy, you guys, because I'm probably going to piss some people off because I left a name off. I'm going to be leaving a big name off this list, but whatever. It's my list, so it's subjective. My number 9 is Teofimo Lopez. I believe Teofimo Lopez is still the best 140 pounder in the world. He just beat Arnold Barbosa Jr., who was undefeated, and this was a fight where I thought Arnold would fight a little bit better and possibly beat Teofimo Lopez, but Teofimo Lopez outclassed him, to say the least. Teofimo Lopez has one of the best boxing resumes. And I know what you're thinking. Well, he lost to George Kambosos. No. I don't care about that fight because he didn't care about that fight himself. He went in there thinking he was going to knock the fight. Listen, I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about Kambosos on the pound for pound list
Main
conversation.
eventing in a month in New York
Let me just go past his resume because it's very very impressive, right? I want to go back to the time that he beat Masayoshi Nakatani. Great fight. Wins that one by unanimous decision. This is when Teofimo Lopez starts to really make some noise. Richard Comey. Nasty knockout. Like gets the TKO victory, like absolutely nasty. Then he beats Vasily Lomachenko, the only guy to do it convincingly, in my opinion, because I think people still question Devin beating Loma. Loses to George Kambosos, whatever. You know, Teo was going through some stuff outside the ring too, so I'm not going to hold that against him. He moves up to 140 pounds, beats Pedro Campa. Then his most impressive fight by far, Josh Taylor. Just outclassed Josh Taylor, who was undisputed. And Josh Taylor did have to give up a couple of his belts. He was dealing with some injuries, but just outclassed him. Like Josh Taylor hasn't looked the same since that Teofimo Lopez fight. Jermaine Ortiz, not the most entertaining bout between him and Teofimo Lopez, but Teo got it done. Now, the Steve Claggett one was a little bit underwhelming. However, up here on the north side in Canada, they got a lot of respect for Steve Claggett and say that he's mad tough. So he gets that done by unanimous decision, and then he outclasses a very good Arnold Barbosa Jr., who just beat a Jose Ramirez. To me, Teofimo Lopez is not only the best 140 pounder, but regardless if you like him or not, he says a lot of dumb stuff. I'll say that. But he also sometimes comes off as genuine and says some like really good stuff about believing in yourself, blah, blah, blah. He's good for boxing. He has the showmanship. Like Teofimo Lopez is good for boxing. He's on this list for me. And I still think he draws like viewers. And that's important. He's on my list. He's number 9. He's on the pound for pound list. Bryan?
We're doing snake orders, so you're gonna get to number 10, and I will go to number 10 after you because I have somebody I guarantee is not on your list at number 10.
I have someone that I don't think is on your list either at number 10. I had to put him on the list.
We're leaving
though.
multiple big names off, and I think it's going to be because of strength of schedule. We're going to talk about it, but the resumes
not even strength of schedule because I just left someone crazy off. He was my number 11, and so I'm just going to say it. I left Nakatani off my list. I'll say it. I left Nakatani off my list. He was my number 11. He was my number 11.
Okay, all right.
And it was hard for me to leave Nakatani off the list. But and I know people are going to hate me right now. But this is my list, all right? And this guy deserves to be on the list because I hate to say it, y'all. There's only a couple of guys that can sell pay-per-views. There's only a couple of guys that can sell out arenas. There's only a couple of guys that have a little bit of controversy. My number 10 is Gervonta Tank Davis. To me, he is the best lightweight in the world, and I have him above Shakur Stevenson. You can say what you want about the Lamont Roach performance. That wasn't Tank. There was something going on there. I do expect him to come back. They're slated to fight August 16th, and I think Tank wins that fight. People say that he's not skilled enough. Tank is very tactical and skilled. Tank has power. Tank has showmanship. You know what else is really crazy about Tank? So all of my girlfriends don't even watch boxing, but they sure know Tank Davis. Okay, I don't even know why and how they know Tank Davis, but they know Tank Davis. They know when he's fighting, and they're going to show up for the fights. Tank Davis is my number 10, and he makes the pound for pound list for me. There's no way I can leave him off because when you look at the best boxers in the world, I think popularity matters on this list, Bryan. Popularity matters. Can you sell pay-per-views? Are you a face of boxing? How can you leave a face of boxing off the pound for pound list? Not on my list. Tank snuck in there. And the reason why Shakur is not on there is because if I'm not putting Nakatani on the list, I'm not putting Shakur on the list. And who has Shakur fought other than Oscar Valdez that's been impressive? Jamel
You
Herring?
are absolutely fucking potting tonight. Woo!
Yeah, listen, Makeshift 23. I am potting tonight.
All right.
Tank gets on my list.
I will get to my number 10 in a second. It is a name we have not talked about at all. There's my tease. Shantelle has in the top 10 Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Beterbiev, Bam Rodriguez, Canelo, Benavidez, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Tank Davis, who a lot of people are removing from their pound for pound lists after his last performance against Lamont Roach Jr.
Technically, he didn't even lose though. You know what I
There
mean?
was controversy.
Okay,
And look,
listen, guys. Listen. Let me just say this. I scored the fight 7-5 Roach. Tank's still on my list because that's not what the judges said. You know what I mean? Like, you get what I'm trying to say here. So he's on the list. He's on the list, guys. And I want to go to Makeshift 23. He said, "What? Tank over Nakatani?" So I struggled the whole time of having, like, it's literally crossed out like on this piece of paper right here, that I was like, I was moving around my 6 to 10 all day, guys. And I couldn't leave Tank off the list. And for Nakatani, he's like 10B. You know what I mean? I wanted to fit him in there, but it's like I didn't know how to fit him in there because I do think Teofimo Lopez has one of the best resumes in boxing. Just beat Arnold. How was I going to leave the monster off the list? And I had to put Canelo in there. I'm not an idiot. You know what I mean? I had to put a Canelo on there, and
oh boy,
there was no room. I ran out of room. Okay, like, that's literally what happened. I ran out of room on the list. So Junto
how
Nakatani would be number 11, and Shakur Stevenson would be number 12. Like if we were going to expand, but I think for me, Shakur doesn't get on the list until he beats Zepeda. Like maybe, but even then, it's like I want to see him fight Tank. Anyways, who's your number 10? Because I think I've just pissed off a few people. Let me know, guys. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if you think Tank should be on the list, because I want to know what you guys think.
I can't have a pound for pound list without Nakatani on it. So
That's fair. That's fair. But
I cannot. Not in 2025. I feel like he has enough dominance, enough strength of schedule, enough accolades, and if he unifies, then all of that will be.
When he unifies, I would obviously move him onto my list. But I think that's what I'm waiting for him to unify. But hey.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna tell y'all who's not on my list first. I'll tell you who's not in the top 10. And I'll give reasons. I will give reasons because these are my omissions. You've already talked about a couple of yours and your reasonings why. Teofimo Lopez is not my number 10. He hasn't really looked that impressive at 140. The most impressive performance at 140 he's had was Josh Taylor. Second is probably Arnold Barbosa Jr. And I do think people are overstating how good he was or how he was in that fight because they were so pissed off and disappointed in everyone else. Where I thought he was fine, but I do think he could have done more. But he won clearly 8 rounds to 4, let's say. And Barbosa didn't push him nearly as much as we thought he was capable of doing. So there's that. Steve Claggett, Jermaine Ortiz, Josh Taylor, Sandor Martin, Pedro Campa, and this is all after the Cambosos fight. So with me, and I get why Teofimo Lopez is on some pound for pound lists, the strength of schedule, so to speak, is not there in terms of the quality of opposition outside of a couple instances. Like Barbosa's a good win. I really, really respect Jermaine Ortiz, and Josh Taylor was undefeated. And Sandor Martin's underrated. But
Josh Taylor was undisputed.
Yeah, but again, he didn't beat Sandor Martin decisively. I think that's like there's some negative points there. Same thing with Jermaine Ortiz. And he coasted against Steve Claggett and kind of coasted against Arnold Barbosa Jr. too. So he's not on my list. Shakur Stevenson, you mentioned it, strength of schedule, not on my list. Strongly considered him, wanted to get him on this list because we both think the world of Shakur Stevenson's talent, and he's undoubtedly going to be pound for pound. He's going to be pound for pound. He could be pound for pound number 1. He legitimately has that type of potential, but he is 27, and we just need to see him. Like we need to see Zepeda, and we need to see other guys too. Like we need to see more. The Valdez win was super impressive. It's his best win. It was 3 years ago, and since then, Conceição, Shirishiro Yoshino, which was a pleasantly surprising knockout stoppage victory. Edwin de los Santos, famously horrific fight. Artem Haratunian.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that was after the Frank Martin fight. And Josh Padley, replacement opponent, but he was going to fight Kid Austin Floyd Schofield, which, to be honest with you, That wasn't an awesome fight either. I think in hindsight we were a little too giddy about it, but like Schofield was ranked number 13 by the WBC for the title he's fighting for, and after he pulled out of that fight, they moved him down to like number 30. Um, like legitimately, it was crazy. Makeshift 23 says honorable mention for me is Espinosa. That's a good
Yes,
shout.
yes, yes.
He is in my top
He's
15.
he's in my top 15. Yeah.
He's 15, but he's not in my top 10, but he's close. Jay says, I'm not a pound for pound guy, so I'm okay with anything as long as Haney is not on the list. Also not on the list, Devin Haney. Devin Haney,
Yes.
not on your list, Chantelle, not on
No,
mine.
I don't even think he's top 15 for me.
Before I continue, can you tell why? I think I'm going to agree with all your reasons, but why is Haney not on your list?
Okay, guys, like I'm going to be controversial, but I'm potting tonight. So I don't really care if Ryan Garcia took those steroids because there was just a little bit found in his system, and that didn't make Devin Haney not stop the left hook. Still knocked his ass out, right? Like we all saw it. It's never going to leave
not
our
out.
memory.
Down, not out.
Yeah, I mean, come on, like he was not even there. Like, you know what I mean? He knocked him on his ass like 4 times. And I remember seeing it and being absolutely stunned. And obviously Ryan took steroids, and you could say whatever you want about Ryan, but that image of Devin Haney will forever be in my mind. And when I go back to it, I'm always going to think that Devin Haney lost that fight. Okay, Marlon 2603, the Dev Haney. I think Devin Haney's really good, but like he's not on my list, bro.
He has resume too, but the Ryan Garcia fight was what it was, and his last win was awful.
Listen, the Jose Ramirez fight, we hadn't seen Devin Haney in over a year. What did I see in that fight? Devin scared to get hit. That's what I saw in that fight. Now, boxing
couldn't cut off the ring either.
Boxing is one of those things where you don't want to get hit, right? You want to hit, you don't want to get hit, but you also have to be entertaining. You also have to, on this list, a lot of these guys are very entertaining. They're big names in the sport, and they can sell a fight. Right, that is part of the criteria for me, which is why Tank makes the list because of that criteria specifically. I don't think Devin Haney has that, but the one thing Devin Haney has is people will watch him. You either love him or you hate him, right? And I think Devin Haney is super talented, and he's a great boxer, and he actually has a decent resume as well. But I want to see how he looks like in his next fight, but he just doesn't make the top 10.
Okay.
Especially after that Jose Ramirez fight.
All right.
And Jose Ramirez is like one of my favorite boxers, guys. So
that is true. I'm milking the shit out of this. So let's get into it. Okay. Gervonta Tank Davis. Not on my list.
I figured, yeah.
Jerron Boots, and honestly, it's because of the draw and that performance or whatever. He wins that, then we can talk. And also strength of schedule could be better. Jerron Boots not on the list. Strength of schedule also. He beat Evansa Stanionis. We're heading in the right direction with Boots. Not quite there yet. Vasily Lomachenko, not on the list. He hasn't fought in over a year at this point. And before that, he lost to Devin Haney. And he beat Chantelle's least favorite boxer, George Campos.
It's not mention him on the show.
Kenshiro Taraji, not on the list, who is entering a lot of pound-for-pound lists in the top 10.
A lot.
One of the most fun flyweights in the world right now. Number 10. I will be accused of being a homer, but this dude is Puerto Rico's Bam Rodriguez, and that is Oscar Collazo, number 10 on the pound-for-pound list. The best minimum weight boxer in the world. I'm dead serious. Yeah. The best minimum weight boxer
I know.
I
like Collazo. I like Collazo.
The best minimum weight boxer in the world. Beat the shit out of knockout CP Freshmart, beat the shit out of Edwin Cano, beat the shit out of Gerardo Zapata to an easy decision, and not enough people are talking about him. Watch him, just watch him. That dude is a fucking killer, and nobody is giving him the respect he deserves because he's 105 pounds. He's building strength of schedule. He's dominant. He's entertaining. He would become a star if he wasn't 105 pounds. And this pound for pound list, traditionally, like you want to reward some of these fighters who are underrated in the lighter weight classes. This is how an Inoue gets to move up to be in consideration for that top spot. Shakur Stevenson, we just outlined it. He beat Oscar Valdez and not really anyone else of note, with all due respect. The equivalence of those dudes at minimum weight, Oscar Collazo is beating better guys than that.
Yeah.
So he's beating better competition in his weight class than Teofimo Lopez, and doing it better than Teofimo Lopez is, than Tank is, than Shakur Stevenson is. There's still more to be done, but this dude is really, really, really like, you just watch him, you're like, oh, that's one of the 10. To me, I watch him and I'm like, that's one of the 10 best boxers in the world.
He is. He definitely
He
is.
deserves some respect. A lot of people will not give him his just due because they don't know
him.
right.
They don't know him.
But
That's the thing.
this is what the pound for pound list is in essence. It's about giving, like Taraji, who I just mentioned, is entering pound for pound lists. This is why. Same thing with Nakatani. And as these dudes in the lighter weight classes build that resume, build some respect, like this is what you have to do, and you have to win in multiple weight classes. I think Oscar Collazo could do that as he moves up to 108, potentially 112. And maybe there's a world, although we'll see how the size difference is because Bam is bigger, but like, can Bam Rodriguez fight Oscar Collazo down the line? I mean,
oh my God, that's a crazy, crazy fight.
If you want to bring back Puerto Rico versus Mexico, truly, if you truly want to do it, that's the fight. But they're not the same size or anything like that, at least not yet. So pound for pound list, to reiterate, because we were just asked in the chat. Chantelle's list, we'll put it up again. Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Beterbiev, Bam Rodriguez, Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Tank Davis. That was 1 through 10. So the top 5: Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Beterbiev. 6 through 10: Bam, Canelo, Benavidez, Teofimo, Tank. My top 10: Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Bam. Top 5. 6 through 10: Beterbiev, Nakatani, Canelo, Benavidez, even though I think Benavidez would be Canelo right now, but Canelo has a resume. And number 10, Oscar Collazo.
And you see what Bryan did there? Put his full name on. He wasn't playing around, y'all.
No, it's because like people are gonna be like, who's Collazo? You know?
Yeah. Well, here's a question.
Luis Collazo's still back. He's back in the welterweight division. That's what they're gonna say.
Well, here's a question that I had to ask. How much was, like, when you talk about criteria, how much was popularity and being able to sell a fight on your criteria? Like, where did you have that? High, low, what?
It's lower than strength of schedule. It's lower than recent quality of performance to me, because it's a pound for pound list. If I'm doing a draft, we did a fantasy boxing draft for fun,
which we should be doing as well.
Which we should do soon. I think that's where I would weigh that a little bit more, because I'm trying to build out a promotion, right? If we were building out the mandatory promotions, we would try to have somebody with star power. You can't, like, not everyone does. The interesting thing is, I think Oscar Collazo, like, he can be a star. The issue is literally just his size. But
yeah,
he's fun. He's fast hands. He finishes guys. He's Puerto Rican, easily marketable. He dominates other dudes. He's just 105 pounds. And it's different being 105 pounds in a loaded sort of like the lighter weight classes are loaded. Whereas if you look at the 105 pound equivalent on the women's side would be Sinisa Estrada. There's more of a pathway to a Sinisa Estrada becoming a star. And it's not just because like people think she's pretty or whatever the case may be. It's also because she dominated and she's in the lighter weight classes. And in terms of star power, she doesn't have a lot of competition. It also helps that, like, you know, her English is great. She's from here, yada, 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 and had Top Rank behind her, you know, which is a whole other thing. But like Sinisa Estrada was dominating, even though we both thought the fight with Yokasta Valle was a little close, but was dominating regardless. And even the one before that, actually. And salute to Sinisa Estrada, who retired undefeated not that long ago. But yeah, we will do a women's pound for pound list, by the way. We want to do that, absolutely. But yeah, I think Collazo, like, he needs to be on more lists. He's really, really, really good. So this is my top 10. And yeah, I need to. Tank needs to win his rematch with Lamont Roach. Shakur needs to beat Zepeda, like, convincingly. Teofimo Lopez, like, he needs to stop coasting. And reports are that he might fight Boots, and the winner of that should be on top 10 lists.
Well, it was hard for me to keep Boots off too, because I think Boots is top 15 for me, especially when you think about it, he's the best welterweight.
He is for me.
And it, like, I wanted to put Rafael Espinoza on there, because I feel like
He's
he
getting
could
there.
have he could have made the top 10 for me. I think he's my favorite fighter right now. But yeah, guys, drop your top 10 list. Let us know who's on your pound for pound list because we want to know who and how you've got it ranked. And we'll be definitely checking out those comments as well. I don't believe we have another show this week, Bryan.
No. Can I
But
give
if
you another name I considered real quick?
sure, before we get out of here.
And I want to ask you, yeah, because we've been going long. I want to ask you if you consider this person. Did you consider Jayo Pataya at all? Because I did initially.
Yeah, I did.
He
Yeah,
was
but
on like my first list before I made my first cuts, and then yeah,
he was, yeah, like when I wrote my list, I wrote down like 20 boxers. And then I just kind of moved them onto the list and
same.
cut some people off. The hardest one was leaving Nakatani off the list for me. That was probably like, and I knew that was going to be controversial, but I also, our criteria is different for pound.
Slightly.
So
We had a
yeah,
lot of the same people and in
yeah.
the same order. Like we had almost the same. We had the same top four.
I knew
Let's
that 8 through 10 was going to be different because
yes,
even when we did our first list, I believe 8 through 10 was different for us.
we both had. We both had. We had 8 of the same guys. You had Teofimo and Tank, and I had Nakatani and Colazo.
Yeah.
So you went for a little more star power and also a body of work from the standpoint of they have these big wins that were earlier in their career that still should carry some weight. And I have a little bit more of a
What have you done for me lately?
yeah,
That's what you
a
have.
little
Yeah.
bit more of a nerdy what have you done for me lately, and let's put respect on some of these lighter weight classes that are accomplishing some things. But for the
Yeah.
most part, otherwise the criteria, I mean, we had the same top four. We switched Better BF and Bam Rodriguez, which I think a lot of people could go either way with that. At 7,
I think some people don't even have Canelo on a top 10 list anymore.
maybe. I mean,
I think
maybe
there's some
Canelo's
people
super
that don't. Yeah.
polarizing. I had him at 8, you had him at 7. We feel similarly about Canelo at this point, although I might
Oh
be
wait, Al the Pal just donated $10 to the show. Thank you, Al the Pal. He usually always
appreciate
donates,
it.
by the
Yes.
way. So thank you, Al the Pal. Also, drop your top 10 if you have not dropped it yet. I know you've left a bunch of comments. I'm taking a look to see if you dropped it.
Yeah, I'm just putting ours again to see what. Yeah, drop your pound for pound list before we get out of there. Makeshift says he's not mad at my list. Marlon is questioning where's Nakatani for you.
He's number 11 for me, Marlon. He didn't make it on the list. Like that was the one cut where I knew I was going to get hate for, but
I get it. I get it.
And listen, it was literally crossed out. It was crossed out. Like I had him on my list and I crossed him out there for Tank. That's what I had to do.
But you also said once he unifies,
he's automatically
might have to
on the
kick
list.
somebody off.
Yeah. So that was the thing. Like once he unifies, he's off. He's on the list for sure. And I think I know who I would take off. But
for just for record, 11 through 13 for me was probably Tank, Shakur, Teofimo. Not in that exact order, but those are the 3 last ones where I was like, am I really going to leave these guys off?
Yeah.
Boots was there. I mentioned Kenshiro Taraji was there. Rafael Espinoza is another name I loosely considered. Jayo Pataya as well.
Yeah, my number 11 was Nakatani. My number 12 was Shakur Stevenson. My number 13 was Rafael Espinoza. My number 14 was Jerome Boots Ennis.
Neither of us seriously consider Vasily Lomachenko at this point.
He hasn't fought in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's unfortunate, but Loma's not on there anymore. Guys, make sure to drop your pound for pound list. We want to know who's on your pound for pound list. We thank you guys so much for rocking with us tonight. If you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. If you hate either of our lists and you're like, what's going on here? Drop that as well because we look at all the comments and we read them.
Where's Devin Haney?
We might not be able to like respond to all your comments, guys, but we do actually see them and we appreciate it every time you leave a comment.
And we talk about them on the next episode. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes we're like literally having conversations on WhatsApp about your guys' comments.
Yeah, or we'll just bring it up on the episode and shout you out. We do that as well.
Yeah, so definitely leave that. That's all for me tonight. Bryan, any final thoughts for you?
We should do a women's pound for pound list, but I think we should do it in like July or August, like after Serrano Taylor and that card, which is going to be nuts because there are a lot of pound for pound fighters on that list, and I think a pound for pound list. Jesus Christ,
that's the cue to
you hear that? Get
up out of here. Yeah, what was that?
Somebody going 1,000 miles an hour.
That's wild.
Makeshift. at the buzzer. Shantelle, could your guy Cool Boy Stephen Fulton ever get a chance to be pound for pound top 10?
Ooh,
I think
makeshift.
did you have him top 10 before you fought in a way?
I slid him in, yeah, because it was before the Inoue fight, and I had him in there, and then Inoue like annihilated him, and that was probably the worst performance ever. And I was like riding hard for Cool Boy that time. You know what's really interesting is that division to me is really interesting. Like you got Cool Boy Steph, you got Rafael Espinoza, and to me, Rafael Espinoza is my favorite
Featherweight,
in
yeah.
in that weight class,
Nick
guys.
Ball is my favorite. I don't think Nick Ball will beat Rafael Espinoza at all.
If
But he's
Cool
my
Boy,
favorite guy to watch just visually. Nick
if
Ball is the shit.
if Cool Boy beat, I don't think he beats Rafael Espinoza, dude. I don't like.
Who?
I think
Fulton?
Rafael. Yeah, I think
Oh.
Rafael Espinoza beats everybody in that division. And like, I know people are gonna hate me when I say this. I think if what is going on here now? It's happening over here. We gotta leave, you guys. Now
You're about to
some
say
stuff
you're about to
going
say
on.
Espinoza beats Inoue, aren't you?
I think it's a tough fight for Inoue.
Okay, I think
Because of the size, because of the work
and
rate. But
because Inoue be taking chances when he
but
probably
here's
should.
the thing: Espinoza has a lot of like defensive flaws. So I don't know. We've never seen Inoue in that weight class. But to me, makeshift 23 to answer your question, I want to put Cool Boy on there, but I don't think he's the best 126-pound. So that would be hard for me to do. And Jay said he will be Inoue too.
Espinoza.
So
I mean, listen, if I'm Inoue, I ain't running to that fight.
yeah, but it's Inoue's so
And
good.
I don't think he will anyway. So
yeah, Inoue's so good. There's so many other fights I want to see him in. I want to see him fight Akhmadaliev, which is coming up, and I want to see him fight Nakatani at one point in Japan.
And I want to see him fight Nick Ball.
And I want to see him fight Bam. So those are all fights that I want to see Inoue in. And the one that I really want is obviously him and Nakatani.
I should message Nick Ball to interview him.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts before we leave?
Unless anything absolutely batshit crazy happens, see you next week.
Bye, guys.